How do you feel about the protesting and the rioting going on in schools, academia, Harvard, Columbia, when you've seen all the stuff that's going on, Free Palestine, Gays for Gaza, when you see that, what do you think about it? Does it do anything to you, or you're like, let me support them?
I mean, I think it's pretty funny that it wasn't a problem until it was against Israel. It wasn't a problem with BLM. It was fucking encouraged with BLM. It was
always a problem with
Bullshit.
BLM.
They fucking encouraged it. They let them burn down police stations. There was no repercussions.
I'm not talking mainstream.
No, I'm talking about our government, our media encouraged that shit. Right? They encouraged it when it was BLM. Like, they literally burnt down police stations and it was fine. The mayor came out and was like, no problem, no arrests, no big deal. We don't give a fuck.
Right.
Take down statues, destroy buildings, burn cop cars, do whatever you want to do. But the moment it was Israel, now all of a sudden,
why do you think
students
okay
get the shit beat out of them? They get arrested, they get pepper sprayed, they get fucking maced. And those are peaceful protests. BLM was not peaceful. But it was fine because it wasn't criticizing Israel. What does that tell you?
Let me ask you a question.
Well, we'll answer that. What does that tell you? Who's in charge here?
But you're talking to a guy that I'm not sitting here saying what BLM. I'm talking to you like you and I. I'm not talking to you with $2-3 billion of damage they did to small business owners in communities that African Americans are living in, and who controls mainstream media. And there's only 2 outlets right now. We're talking to a couple of your friends here that were during lunchtime. We're having a conversation while we're having dinner with who controls mainstream media, the left. The only one that's on the right is one, okay? And that's also going to the left. Who controls CNN, CBS, ABC? That's left. Who controls universities? Left. Who controls schools?
Well, it's like 90-something% Jewish. Right. We could say left, but it's Jewish if we're being honest.
Not necessarily, because even right now, if you think about it, if you think about the right and the left, okay, who's taking the biggest hit with losing Jewish voters? Because most Jews vote left. They're not voting on the right.
Jewish vote is irrelevant. They're like 2% of the population.
But the money that they vote with their money.
I mean, but like at the end of the day, I think how much money goes into these campaigns isn't going to dictate as much as when you have a president that's like potentially getting assassinated. Like those are the drivers. I mean, Kamala Harris is a drunken school teacher. Like, she can't even like formulate a coherent sentence. I mean, I don't know. The idea of voting for her just seems crazy. My biggest criticism of Trump is his support of Israel. I mean, aside from that,
why do you think he's supporting Israel?
Because of money. That's why they all fucking support Israel. Money.
Well, you said it's not about money a minute ago.
Well, he wants money. I mean, these politicians are right. I mean, there's 2 reasons to run for president.
Right.
Because you're a good person and you want to do good.
Okay.
Or because you want fucking money.
Sure.
And fame. That's it. It's the only reason somebody would join president.
You're a good person.
Or you want money and fame.
And fame.
That's it.
2 reasons why you run.
Why else would you run?
Why do you think Trump's reason is?
Money and fame.
You think he wants money and fame?
100%.
You think Trump's running because he wants money and fame?
100%.
He has money. He is famous.
He wants people to love him. He wants attention. I mean, he was doing like reality shows, for Christ's sakes. Like, he wants more money.
I totally get it. But you think he is more, he is, how much you think it matters for Trump to be liked?
I think he wants people to like him.
Okay. Yeah. So if that's the case, he should have never ran, because ever since he ran, people don't like him.
I get it. Well, I mean, but the fame is like that. I mean, fame is polarizing. Like, there's very few people that become famous that don't have people hate them. I mean, it comes with the territory. Like, if you want to be loved, you're going to be hated as well. It's just, that's the way.
In 2014, he could have been invited to Beyonce and Jay-Z's party in 2014. In 2014, he would have been invited to, with NAACP. In 20, he went to everything. So
one thing to be invited to parties, another thing to have international status and legacy, and So
the reason why I brought the money side with Jews. So who do you think the recent event with October 7th hurt more, the left or the right, politically?
October 7th? What do you mean?
Israel, Hamas, like this whole back and forth. Which political party you think has lost more, taken a bigger hit with their position they've taken with the Jews?
I mean, they're both pro-Israel. So I don't think it's a left against the right when it comes to Israel. And that's like what people think is like, but it's just a distraction. Like, they're both pro-Israel. They're both, fucking Biden's giving Israel shitloads of money. Like, what do you mean? Trump's going to give shitloads of money. Trump's going to fucking go to war with Iran. What are you talking about? They're both fucking.
You think Trump's going to go to war with Iran?
He said he's going to.
No, it's his way of saying to not go to war.
He said he's going to.
The same way he said with everybody else that he was going to push them or more didn't happen. He said,
I mean, I don't know. I feel like he said that he was going to.
So then let me ask you, so who would you vote for today? It doesn't sound like you're voting for anybody.
I mean, if I had to choose between those two, Trump for sure. I don't even think it's close. I mean, Kamala's half a fucking retard. And she pushes, all this woke left ideology. It's just nonsense. Like, I mean, she's a fucking complete moron. Not that Trump is like a super genius either, but like light years past her. I mean, she was like one of the most hated people. Like how she even got the fucking nomination is beyond me. Like how they didn't even give it a big mic is crazy. Like
you ever heard of, you're so funny. You ever heard of eugenics?
Eugenics?
Eugenics. Eugenics. You ever heard of that?
What's that?
Okay. You ever seen MIT stats showing that Ashkenazi Jews' IQ is the highest IQ in the world? You ever heard about that or not?
I believe it. It's up there. Yeah. Yeah. I've seen the IQ studies. Yeah.
So what do you think about that? The fact that they have a higher IQ. How do you process that information?
What do you mean?
You have a pretty high IQ, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know what the score is. I've seen some, what's this? I've read it multiple different places. What's the score you got?
I don't know. I mean, I was in the 99th percentile when I was in 8th grade and got accepted to Duke on a scholarship. I mean, I've tested okay. I'm a smart guy.
Okay.
I get it,
but do you think the part about like, okay, I'm a Syrian and I'm Armenian and then I'm born in Iran and I'm living in America. Armenians, try bring them together. It's tough. They're divided. Assyrians.
I don't know about that. Go to Glendale, buddy.
No, I lived in Glendale for 6 years.
What do you mean? They're pretty. I mean, every Armenian that I ever meet is like, bro, you're Armenian. It's like, I have seen.
The pride is right.
Yeah, I've seen more Armenian pride than any other.
Yeah, but you're talking, these guys are coming to you. You have different types of Armenians, right? And even right now in Armenia with what they're going through with, Pashinyan and some of the political stuff. You were there in 2018 with your brother and your dad when you guys went there and got your citizenship. But Assyrians, they're divided. It's the older, the church, the club, the this, the that. You can't unite these guys together, right? The closest thing I'll say with Jews, the level of unity that they have is Muslims and Mormons. Mormons are super united. Muslims are super united. And Jews are super united. That's one part that they have the edge. But then if you look at their IQ, and if somebody's IQ is higher, they're generally going to make better decisions in business, if that is correct, right? If IQ is correct.
Is that where so you think that 6 out of the 10 richest people in America are Jewish? You think it's just IQ related?
You think they started off with money when they started creating their wealth?
I think if you look at college admissions and you look at how many Jews get admitted versus how many whites, they lump themselves in, in a separate category. And 75% of college, what is it? 75% is Jewish.
Of what? Admissions?
I
don't know the exact.
The college executives. What Ivy League?
The number I have is, in the world, there's 267 Jewish billionaires. That's 10% of all the billionaires, while they're only 0.2% of the world, right? So that's a 5% overrepresentation. In America...
Wait, you're saying they're 2%? They're not 2% of the world, they're 0.02. If
that's what I said, 0.2.
No, they're not. I think it's 0.02.
If you do 9 billion, they have roughly 15 million people.
Okay.
So 0.2% of 8 billion is like 16 million, and that's what they have.
Okay.
0.2%,
yeah. Not 2%.
No, we're saying the same thing. We're saying the same thing. So in U.S., 132 Jewish billionaires out of 756. 17% of billionaires in America are Jewish. Mm-hmm. Did that happen accidental? Is that because they work together? Is that a bad thing? Is that something where, it's kind of like saying, when Tom Brady was playing in the NFL, the guy was freaking hated. It's like, oh, Deflategate, or this, or they did this, or they did that.
I don't care that like 90% of sports are black or whatever the fucking statistic is. I don't give a shit if Jews have all the money. I really don't care. I don't care if they run Hollywood. Like my issue is like culpability with the people that are pushing these fucking bullshit narratives. The media is mostly Jewish, and the media is pushing this fucking DEI.
Yeah.
They're pushing this trans bullshit.
They're pushing
They push the COVID fucking shit, right? So All I'm saying is I want you to be responsible for what you're in charge of. I don't care if it's the purple people in charge of the banks. I don't care if it's the fucking green people in charge of the fucking media. No, but dude, hear me out. I don't care who the fuck it is. I'm saying if the media is the green people and they're pushing COVID and they're pushing DEI, they're pushing transgenderism and they're pushing racism and they're pushing division and they're pushing a degradation of fucking moral fiber, I'm mad at the green people. Right? You see what I'm saying? I don't give a shit who it is. I'm saying who is in charge should have some responsibility.
I see it in a different way. Here's how I see it. So I see it as, so, you know, when I'm coming up, I have my friends, well, you know, I'm in the insurance game and I'm making $100 grand a year and they would say, oh my God, look at those guys. All they care about is this and they help each other out, these different insurance companies. I'm like, yeah, how about we figure out a way to do the same? No, but they have this, and it was almost like a little bit of from a place of victimhood. Like, you know, look what they're doing. I'm like, okay, let me continue. So I grow, then I get to the next level. I'm making a little bit more money and now I'm in different meetings. So go at every level, Dan, my experience, I may be wrong and challenge me as much as you want and say, rip it apart, the argument that I have.
Okay.
So while you're making six figures, you're in a room with 50 other guys making six figures, right? You know which guy that's at six figures that's going to go to $250,000, and you know which guy's going to get stuck at 100,000, and you know which guy's going to go down because he got lucky. Maybe he landed a big insurance sale that paid him $60,000. You could filter those guys out. You go to $250,000, you saw the same thing. You know who's going to go next level, who's going to stay, who's going to go down. $1 million, 10 million, 50 million, at every, even $1 billion on who's going to go. Like, you know, Elon's probably not going to slow down, but between Elon and Bezos, guess who's probably going to slow down if you chose those two? You may say Bezos. They're both worth a couple $100 billion. They have more money than many countries have. But at every level, eventually somebody stops, right? And some continue at every level. This is in basketball, sports, poker, you name it. I had a big $1 million thing. I'm happy I walk away. To me, the part of it that I see when I'm talking within my community, I'm a guy that in my house, I have a 15-foot painting in my house. When you come to Florida, if you ever do, I'll show it to you. In the middle of it, you know who it is? The Shaviran is right in the middle of it. Guess who was the biggest against the Jewish Zion media empire? Guess who was the biggest person that called him out? Him. And what happened to him in 1979? You know what they did to him? They got rid of him in a different way. So you're not talking to a guy that is Jewish or pro this or pro that. For me, I want to see what caused them to go from where they were at to having the kind of wealth that I have today. Can that skill set be transferred to others? The part that you and I can criticize is what they do with all the power that they have today. We can criticize that all day long. You know, they run media, they run CNN, they do this, and they all tell everybody, you better say this, or you better say that. The Soros, the Bond, you know, Brofman, all these guys. You can criticize that all day because now you have the power. What do you do with the power? But my interest is, what caused them to get all this money? It's not like one day they woke up, they found something, and the next thing you know, they're doing this. How did they get all this power and this money that they made? Was that pure luck? Was that accidental?
I mean, depends on what field you're talking about. I mean, I think when you kind of stick together and when you know, BlackRock, their execs are 100% Jewish. So when you only hire Jewish people and you give them preferential treatment, I think it's natural for, you know, your race, religion, whatever, to have a higher, you know, success rate when you're banded together and everybody else is divided. And, you know, it seems like America just gets more and more divided by the day. And what would make it easier to conquer a country than to divide it? It's a lot easier, you know, that's why they say divide and conquer, right? So in order to rule a country as a small class, you want the country divided. What's happened in the last 4 years? Our country's more divided than it's ever been. It's more racist, it's more divided, it's more fucking angry. Everybody's fucking pulling each other apart. And, you know, and the same playbook is happening in the UK. So I look at what is going on in the world and I don't think it is a positive thing. And so that is where, you know, I get upset is because...
But the question is, how did they get the power? How do you think they got their power? Because this didn't happen, you know, just, you know, 70 years ago, they didn't have a country, whatever the timeline is when they got it, right? How did they all of a sudden go from what happens in Germany, then they get their country, then they're able to move up politically, then they're able to move up in media, then they're able to move up in all these different places with finance and Wall Street? What did they do right? How did they get all this power? They have a lot of power. How did they do it?
I mean, look, I haven't like studied Jewish power struggles or how they made their money or anything like that. That's not really, I mean.
But you know what I'm asking?
I do. And I don't really have a direct answer for it because I haven't studied it, so I'm not going to guess. But, I just look at this whole thing of, they're obviously doing really fucking well. I don't know why it's constantly like a victim card thing.
You think it's worth studying? You think it's worth studying to see what they did?
Yeah.
I remember one time I'm in LA, I'm with this guy named David. He owned a dealership, Jewish guy. First time in my life I saw $1 million cash. I'd never seen it before. I just come out of the army. I'm like, hey, how the hell do you guys, Jews, I grew up in Iran, so we have a lot of Persian Jews. How do you guys always make so much money? And he said the most fascinating thing. He said, when one of us makes money, 5 of us makes money. I'm like, what does that mean? We always do business together. We always go into deals together. We're always finding ways to do business together. Do you know from that moment when I was 21 years old, when I started my insurance company at 30 years old, you know why was one of the reasons we never lost the vice president of the company? And I'm in Vegas right now because I got a convention at MGM for this week with 10,000 people there. We give our guys equity. So our guys own the company. So it wasn't like it's my commission. That idea of equity came from that Jewish, dealership guy I met at 21 years old.
Listen, I get it. I mean, good for them. I don't have a problem with that. I don't care if they help each other out and whatever, they band together. My issue is when they fucking put their country ahead of our country, when they're living in our country and they're politicians in our country. And I care when our country is hurt to help their country. That's what I fucking care about. I don't give a shit if they band together. I don't care if they give each other special treatment, whatever. I mean, I'd like to stop hearing about the fucking victim card bullshit every time I fucking turn around, because they're not victims. They're crushing in every fucking category. And, and they like constantly refer to the Holocaust when they're the biggest Holocaust deniers of the fucking planet. They deny the Armenian Holocaust, which, like half of my people got wiped out, half of your people got wiped out. They deny that. So I don't think it's right for them to whine about the Holocaust and force feed every single fucking children, all the fucking children and students, this fucking Holocaust narrative and hijack the entire fucking World War II and make it about the fucking Jews when like 85 million people fucking died during World War II. It wasn't all about the fucking Jews, but they make every movie about the fucking struggling Jews and how they had to fucking endure all this stuff. And yet, they can't recognize the Armenian Holocaust. We lost half our population. They didn't lose half their population, but yet we have to hear about it every fucking movie, every classroom, every museum, nonstop on every show.
Well, why though? Why what?
Why do they play the victim card so much?
So let me ask you, who made the movie about Armenian genocide?
I don't know who made it.
Did you ever watch the movie with Christian Bale?
1917?
No, not 1917. The recent one with Christian Bale. I think it's called, if you haven't seen it, you got to watch it. You'd love the movie. But it's called Belief or hang on, Courage, Armenian Genocide movie. What's it called? The Promise. Have you seen it?
No.
It's ridiculous. I'll send it to you afterwards for you to watch. But The Promise. Do you know who made The Promise?
I know.
The owner of MGM, Krikorian. Okay, he made The Promise with Christian Bale. He put $100 million into it. The budget was $90 million. They made $12.4 million is what the movie did. But it's actually a very good movie. It's worth watching. But the point I'm making there is an Armenian created $9 billion of wealth for himself that he could use the money to make the story, to tell the story of what really happened with the Armenian genocide.
I think you're missing the point. It's not about what they do in Hollywood with their money. It's about the fact that the government puts this in the school systems.
But why do they put it in the school systems?
Because they're controlling our fucking government.
Why do they control our government?
I don't know, because they assassinate presidents. They assassinated JFK because they have a Mossad operation at fucking Epstein Island. They get blackmail on our politicians. They give hundreds of millions of dollars via APAC. That's why they fucking control the country.
Epstein's brother.
Yeah, but that's why you asked the question. That's why they control the country.
But the point is.
But is that right? Like, I'm
not saying it's
just because they control it doesn't mean that it's like a pound on the back because they're doing it through fucking illegal means.
So, brother, I'm a business guy. So are you. I'm looking for solutions. What is the solution? What's your solution?
The solution for what?
To this challenge here that they're able to make all these movies, tell the stories, put in the schools, put in all this stuff.
That's not my issue. My issue is our support of Israel, and my issue is like Israel's control over our government. That's my problem. It's not these fucking movies. That's like proliferatory shit. My issue is that Israel's controlling our government. They have Mossad operations to get dirt on our politicians. They're fucking bribing our politicians. That's my problem. Okay. And they're doing it to the U.S.'s detriment. And they're going to drag us into one more fucking war where we have U.S. citizens dying for fucking Israel. Yeah. As a veteran, you should not want to fucking see that.
Not for it.
Iraq was a fucking joke. And we did that because that dumb fucking Netanyahu got in front of Congress, lied out of his ass, and said there's weapons of mass destruction when everybody fucking knew there was.
We said it as well, bro.
No. It came from him.
No, it's not about it. Didn't come from him. It could have come from him, but we did it as well.
He testified in front of Congress.
I remember that
there was weapons of mass destruction. And it was complete fucking bullshit.
But we said it as well. But again, for me, the only thing I'm interested in, everything you're saying, I don't disagree with the things that you're saying. For me, it's what's the solution? Because they're going to continue making money. BlackRock's not going to slow down tomorrow because we're doing this podcast, and all of a sudden they're going to say, oh, Dan Bilzerian, you make sense. Guess what? We're going to stop pushing our agenda so much.
For BlackRock, that's for the people, man. BlackRock ain't going to change. They're going to operate in their own self-interest. They're going to push this fucking DEI bullshit. They're going to force all the companies that they fund to push DEI bullshit. The only thing that the people can do is fucking push back, start boycotting this stuff, stop fucking supporting it. And, you ask like what the solution is. I mean, why is Israel even an ally? I mean, why when they shot down a civilian plane, did we just say, that's fine? But when Russia did it...
You mean a ship, the USS?
No, they shot down a commercial airliner that flew over their airspace that had civilians in it. When Russia did that, that was an act of war. Why is there a double standard?
Why do you think?
Because they control our fucking government. I said it.
But again...
Why do you think?
Well, I mean, if you want to find out, like, what the first thing would happen for this to be stopped, again, solution-oriented. If we say, what's the first thing? You know what the first thing is? If we stop lobbying, half the shit stops. If the concept of lobbying stops, we had Paul Manafort on the podcast. Yeah, I don't know if you know who Paul Manafort is. Is it Paul Manafort? Anyways, we had one of the bigger lobbyists on the podcast. Him and Roger Stone started their company many, many years ago. And I said, so what do you think about lobbying? I said, do you think it's a good thing? Or do you think...
I think it encourages corruption, is what I think.
I fully agree. But you know what he said? He said, the other side's doing it, so we're going to do it. So if today lobbying stopped, these guys wouldn't have the kind of power that they have today.
The whole system's broken. That's the problem. It's broken, and government just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And I mean, listen, this country was founded because we didn't want to pay 1% fucking tax on tea. Don't forget that.
We were willing to fight for 1%. That, and now
1% tax on tea. That's why we have this fucking country. Come a long way from there.
What's your point?
My point is that, we should fucking stop putting up with this bullshit, and there should be fucking changes made. Like our politicians are not running our country. We think that they are. They're just not.
And you think it's ever going to change? Clear. You think the format's going to change?
I think that when we have our economic crash, that might be a catalyst. I think people are lazy, and I think they're pussies, and I don't think they're going to do jack shit until their way of life is threatened, and I think people will do something. That's what I think. But I think it'll take an economic collapse for anybody to do anything. The government's not going to initiate it, that's for sure.
Well, don't you think an economic collapse would actually benefit them? Would actually benefit the people of power to be able to give more free things during that time for where people are willing to give up even more?
They can inflate, and they will. They'll print more fucking money, but that, can't go on forever. This like fairy tale of just like printing and printing money, like that doesn't work. I mean, like, let me ask you this. Why do you think the quality of life now is lower than it was 50 years ago when we have all this technological innovation? We've got the ability to produce things for a lot cheaper cost. We've got the ability to mass scale. Why do you think our quality, like, where's all the money getting sucked out of? Like, where's all the money going?
If you go in 50 years, you're talking 74.
No.
So are you talking technical? You want a technical answer, or you want just a...
I'm saying, where'd the money go? Well, how did all that money get sucked onto the economy so that, we are having a shittier average quality of life than we were 50 years ago?
Well, if you're talking technically in 1972, when Nixon took U.S. off the gold standard, shit changed because America can print as much money as they want. You couldn't when it was based off the gold standard. So the recklessness started after 72. So if you're talking that's that part. Because now we can just do what? Hey, you know what? What do we need to pay off? Print another $1 trillion. Print another $4 trillion. Print another $6 trillion. It's okay. Exactly. And by the way, just so you know, the more money they print, guess who makes the money? You know what the money goes up to? The people that have businesses.
Yeah. I mean,
But if you're asking a technical question, that's where the wild, wild west started, where typically it's like, okay, hey, Dan, you know, can I get $100,000? Yeah, here's collateral. Okay, cool. I got it. $120,000 watch, shit hits the fan. I can sell this, no problem. Mm-hmm. This was gold. What's collateral now? I got you, bro. You're good.
I get it.
I'm USA. I got you. It's the fiat currency.
But why do we start the Fed? Why do we start the tax? Why do we get off the gold standard?
Yeah. I'm with all of it. But I'm curious what you think, because you got a smile on your face.
I've already told you what I think's the problem. I've said it numerous times. I mean, our government is not being fucking controlled by the people who say they're controlling it. You know?
You seem very optimistic.
I'm not. I'm actually not very optimistic about it. Like I said, I think it's going to take an economic collapse for anything to change.
You ever read the book Fourth Turning?
No.
Yeah, the guy talks about how U.S. goes through 4 turnings every 20 years. Things change every 20 years. I had him on the podcast 2 months ago, something like that. Neil Howe is his name. And by the way, he wrote this book in 97 with a guy named William Strauss, if I'm not mistaken. And, you know, they said, well, here's what happened for this 20 years. Here's what happened here. They made 5 predictions. One of them was Russia's going to invade a neighboring country, which they did. 2, they said market crash. 3, they said there's going to be a big pandemic. 4, they said something about the Tea Party. And 5, they said in 1997, they said civil war. You know, there could be a possibility of a civil war where the 2 sides can no longer get along and understand each other, where that's going to be the collapse. Not a market correction, a flat-out civil war, where you're going to sit across another guy like, dude, we're never going to agree on what you're saying here. We're living in 2 different countries here. You're in La La Land. That was a prediction they made. And they said the civil war is going to be taking place somewhere between 2008 and 2028. And they wrote this in 97.
That's crazy.
They wrote it in 97. And we're kind of living in it today because, you know, the last 4 years exposed a lot. But for me, the level of optimism comes in moments where you feel like you no longer have control. This is for me. Again, not for you. I'm talking to you for myself. This is when faith plays a role to bring optimism. This is when you go back and think about with Hitler, where there was a guy named Dietrich Bonhoeffer. I don't know if you know who Dietrich Bonhoeffer is. This guy was the guy that, the way Hitler was able to get what he did to Germany, he went after churches. And he feared, if you believe in God, that's the only thing he can't beat. Same thing with Russia. What's the first thing Lenin and Stalin did? It's materialism. God doesn't exist. The more you eliminate faith in people, the more I can control you. You ever seen the movie Book of Eli with Denzel?
Yeah.
Remember when he says, this one book, if I get this one book, I can control the people. I can control the people. And Denzel didn't want to give the book to the other guy because he wanted to do bad things with it rather than doing good things with it. No, man, I think hope and faith is a very valuable quality that the enemy fears.
Well, I mean, there's a full-on attack on Christianity right now, and it's being, you know, waged by the media. Did you watch the Olympics?
Of course.
It's fucking utter blasphemy. Like, it's just, like, acceptable. Like, it's acceptable to...
Why does it bother you, though?
Why does it bother me?
Because you're not a Christian, but why does it bother you?
Because it is fucking an unnecessary attack on a large majority of the world's faith for no fucking reason. Who benefits from that? Like, why is this transgender stuff just being shoved down your throat every time you fucking turn on TV? Why are we having men and women's sports? Like, it's nonsense. It's utter fucking nonsense. People are too scared to say anything about it.
I think people are louder today.
They're getting louder.
Yeah, because of one guy. One guy gave a platform for people to be louder. If he didn't buy Twitter in 2022, America's a very different America today.
Yeah.
Very different America today. And this goes back to the argument I was making to you, which for me, the argument is, I'm not surprised that Jews are making movies to say they're great. The first Titanic that was ever made was made and directed by Hitler. Do you know who the hero was in the first Titanic? A Nazi soldier. That's his job. His job is to convince us Nazis are good people. And then you watch...
Do you think Nazis are bad people?
I think depends who you ask. You ask a German, you ask somebody that was part of, that's their representation, that's their country. You think CIA is good to people in Iran? They hate the CIA.
I think the CIA is a terrorist organization. And I think that, ever since I was a little kid, I knew that Nazis were not the bad people. They were people that were born in fucking Germany that joined that army. Just like people in America joined the fucking American army. This whole idea of like a boogeyman of like all the fucking people born in Germany are just like all of a sudden homicidal killers and they're all really bad. It's just fucking nonsense. Like the idea that all Muslims are terrorists is just fucking bullshit. But that's what Hollywood keeps fucking pumping out there. Is like every fucking bad guy in these movies are always these fucking jihadi terrorists, like they're always the fucking bad guy. They're not. They're a fucking quarter of the globe. Like a quarter of the globe is Muslim. They're not all fucking bad guys. They're not all terrorists. They're actually like a pretty peaceful religion. But like, I don't like this propaganda being like shoved down your fucking throat all the time.
So you think, okay. So you said earlier, did you watch the Olympics opening? Great. Who do you think did it? Okay. Are you alluding to the fact that Jews were the ones that are funding the Olympics, the commercials? So because of that, they made fun of Christians. Is that kind of where you're going? Or no, you're just saying they're mocking Christianity, period.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who's.
Okay, I got you. I thought you were going there. No, but to me, okay.
I just don't think like on a worldwide stage, mocking a religion is acceptable.
I fully agree with you.
It's atrocious. And especially like this injection of gay shit, which is just like, why? Why does everything have to be gay? Why do transgender people have to fucking read stories to children? Why do you have to have gay books talking about gay sex acts for 9-year-olds? Like when I was 9, they didn't tell us about sex at all. You weren't in fucking puberty. Like, why do you have to learn about like homosexual acts when you're 9 years old? Like, it's just nonsense. It's utter fucking nonsense. And who's pushing that? The fucking media. The media is pushing that. The media is saying that that's okay. So I'm not okay with that.
Neither am I. I got 4 kids. Trust me.
Yeah.
I lived in LA 24 years. I lived in Dallas 5 years. I'm in Florida because of that. So in Florida, vaccines. We were talking about vaccines earlier, you and I, about, whether you took the vaccine or not, conversation you and I were having. But, even in Texas, if you want to use religious exemption for your kids to not take the vaccine, even if they go to a Christian school, you still have to have your kids take it and show the card. You know what it is in Florida?
What's that?
You just say it. And they're like, okay, no problem. No questions
there shouldn't be any requirement anyways. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like, you announced you're running for office in 2015. It sounds like you're going to run again. I mean, you're very firm in some of the convictions you're having. And what's interesting about it is you're going through now. So I don't know, are you a guy that reads a lot or no? Are you a big reader? Do you read a lot of books?
I read a little bit, not a ton. I mean,
is the interest there for you to go deeper and deeper on this topic, or is it surface level?
I'm a lot more interested in politics in general, I'm watching what's happening in the world, and I think things are accelerating at a very rapid rate, and there's a fucking problem, just like, that's why I did the fucking whole, course for guys, because I feel like there's a problem fucking dating. Guys are doing the wrong thing. They're getting bad results. Half the guys are just quitting on dating. Like, there's some real problems in the world. So
tell us about the course you're doing.
Yeah, that's kind of the premise of it, is guys have bad directions. They're doing the wrong thing and they're getting a bad result because of that. They're quitting. And nobody's really putting out the fucking good result. In fact, they're giving them really bad directions. Like Hollywood's giving them horrendous directions. And so because of that, people have bad maps. Bad maps don't lead you to the right place. You're better off not to have a map. You go to the fucking gas station, you ask him, where this and this is, and he tells you fucking go up the road, take a right, and then go 5 miles, take a right, go up the road 3 miles and take a left, and you'll get there. And the place is back this way. You're worse off for having this bad directions. And that's where I think, the state of dating is guys are much worse off for having these bad directions. And, so yeah, I just kind of want to lay out there the correct approach, because that's what look, I dedicated a big part of my life to my sex addiction, right? So I learned a lot, and I learned a lot because I had a big sample size of girls that wanted to sleep with me that I screwed it up with, and a large sample size of girls that wanted to sleep with me that I also slept with. And only in cross comparing that data can you really figure out what is effective and what's not effective. if you have a bunch of girls that don't want to fuck you, you're not going to learn that much from that, you know, because like maybe they didn't want to fuck you because you're Armenian, maybe they didn't want to fuck you for this reason or whatever. But like when I have a large sample size of girls that for sure want to fuck me, and I know that because they sent me a DM butt naked with their asshole spread saying I want to fuck you, so it's a pretty good indicator, right? And I screwed it up. So I'm just saying, like in cross comparing that data, I was able to figure out like what things guys are doing wrong and what things I was doing wrong. And one of the things that I was doing wrong that most guys were doing wrong is I was over communicating interest with the girls that I really liked. I was getting a bad result with the girls that I really liked. And then every other girl that I didn't care about, I was fucking and having a great relationship. They were chasing me. And what it broke down to was like the difference between pursuing and being pursued. And when you pursue something, you don't think about its flaws. You think about, how do I get it? Kind of like you're at an auction. You're not thinking about like, you know, the flaws of this item. You're thinking about the other 5 guys that are fucking bidding on it and the loss that you're going to feel if you don't get it, right? So when you're pursuing something, you think about, how do you get it, right? So most guys are pursuing the girl. And what that does is put the girl in a position of, I know I can have this guy. Do I want him? When you're in that position, it's like when somebody's trying to sell you something, when somebody's trying to pitch you a fucking idea. And I bet you get pitched all the fucking time. You got a lot of money. So sure, you get pitched. When somebody fucking pitches you, the first things that you think about is what's wrong with this fucking deal. But if you want to get involved in a deal and the fucking round is closing and 9 fucking of your best buddies just got in there, you're going to be a lot less fucking worried about what's wrong with that fucking deal. You're going to be more worried about how the fuck do you get in it. You're going to trust that they did the fucking due diligence, right? The same thing is true with pre-selection with men and women. And there's just a lot of these concepts that guys are just completely fucking unaware of. And so I wanted to lay out a foundation of like the things that they're doing wrong, the things that they should be fucking doing, and an understanding of the psychology of like why these things work, why these things don't work, why this is bad, why small things have a fucking massive downstream negative effect. And, you know, and then the power struggle in relationships. I see a lot of guys in these relationships and they're just like, they're just constantly making these concessions. And then eventually like these things become expected and not appreciated. The woman has way too much fucking power, doesn't respect the guy, and then ends up cheating on him. And I know because I was the guy that they fucking cheated on with all the time. And I would hear these fucking girls and the story always, and it always started with, he was such a nice guy, but, you know, such a nice guy, but, you know, and then it's like, then she fucking cheats on him. And it always starts like that. And I think a lot of guys think that because in business or because with friendships, they put in a lot of this effort and that effort is rewarded with a, you know, promotion or a fucking raise or whatever in jobs. And in friendships, you know, your buddy has your back in a fucking fight, shows up fucking 2 a.m. to help you out. Like you're going to have his back in the future. So positive correlation with this effort. However, in a relationship, that positive correlation, you know, is not fucking there. It's actually a negative correlation. The more effort that you put in before you've had sex with a girl, the more you actually get punished for that. And so this is something that like is not intuitive because in your life experience, it's been the opposite. That's why a lot of successful guys actually have a lot harder time with these girls. And my broke friends actually get more pussy than my rich friends. And my rich friends actually a lot of times use their money to their detriment instead of to help them, because money is a very powerful tool, as you know, with a lot of things in life. And also it can be with women, but most guys implement it incorrectly. So anyway, so yeah, that was one of my passion projects. I enjoy helping people. And that was like one of the, you know, things that I've realized was like, I got more enjoyment from helping somebody else out than I did buying myself a Ferrari or whatever the fuck car of the week I wanted to get, you know? And so yeah, I focused the time on that. And while I was doing that, I happened to fucking start noticing these fucking politics. And I got to a point in my life where I feel like I've gotten more than I was ever probably fucking deserving of. And so I just am at a place where I just feel like I should fucking do the right thing, whatever the cost. And so that was why I have been going hard on this Israel to my fucking financial and personal detriment. But whatever, man, it's the fucking right thing. So that's what I'm going to do.
I love it. Brother, this has been great. Really enjoyed it. And looking forward to seeing what you do next, man. And by the way, we're going to put the link below to the whole academy you're talking about. Cool. We'll put it below for people to be able to see it. We appreciate you. This is fantastic.
Likewise.
Thank you.